Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being with us today. Good evening, good morning, if you're in a different time zone than I am right now. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your morning or your evening to join us today. We're so happy to have you here. So happy to have you as interested graduate students to Rutgers University-Newark. My name is Vincent Tepedino. I am one of the assistant directors here in our Office of Admissions with Rutgers University-Newark. And welcome to our graduate admitted student town hall. So congratulations to you all. We are here today to talk with you about becoming enrolling Rutgers graduate students, right? And what that means in our current environment, right? The planning, the process, the options that we have. We have several panelists, speakers here with you today that will introduce themselves shortly individually and are here with us to answer some questions and talk with you about a number of different topics. Hopefully you'll find them all interesting and you'll be able to actually ask some questions yourself. You'll notice at the bottom of your screen, if you are on a laptop or a desktop, that there should be a Q&A box. We will have some chatters who are available to answer your questions right there on the spot. And if not, we will save some time at the end to field some of your questions live. So please do not feel shy about putting in some questions in that Q&A box. That is, of course, what we all here for over the next hour or so. So what we'll do now is to get us started, I would like to provide the opportunity for our panelists to introduce themselves. And actually, we're going to start at the very top with one of my favorite and most knowledgeable people on campus, Dr. Bill Leopold, representing our Chancellor's Office. Dr. Leopold, how are you this evening?
I am good, Vincent. Thank you for having me, and welcome to all of our new graduate students. We are excited to make sure to welcome you to campus this semester. My name is Bill Leipold. As Vincent said, I am the Associate Vice Chancellor for Enrollment Services and Experience. I, along with this amazing team, are here to answer questions and help you think about and kind of prioritize for you what the semester will be like, especially as we're in this unprecedented kind of environment. What I will say is every decision that we have made for spring semester is first and foremost around everyone's health and around the health of the community. What I also will say is that we are taking our guidance in terms of how we set up spring semester from the public health officials in the state of New Jersey, as well as CDC guidelines. And as folks may know, and as we start to look at the national landscape, we understand that the COVID-19 virus at this particular point has various it's kind of rolling through the country in terms of where they are, where it is with infecting different parts of the country. And so we know that our folks who are in the state of California, as well as folks who are in different parts of the city and parts of the United States, are being affected differently by this. So know that all decisions we're making are around your health and safety and ensuring that everyone can remain as safe as can be in this time. So thank you, Vincent.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Lar. Very well said. And I just want to remind our panelists, as you're introducing yourselves, if you have any words of wisdom or information about your particular area that you wanted to just get out there at the forefront of our conversation today, please feel free to do so as you're introducing yourself. So we're going to move on to one of our representatives from our business school here at Rutgers-Newark, Dean Ronald Kwan. Dean Kwan, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Vincent. And good evening or good morning to the participants, and welcome to Rutgers University and also to Rutgers Business School, and congratulate you on your acceptance. My name is Ronald Kwan with the Office of Graduate Admissions. So I'll let my panelists introduce themselves and be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean Kwan. Really appreciate your time. From a representative from our School of Criminal Justice, Mr. Camacho. Jimmy, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you everyone for attending. My name is Jimmy Camacho. I'm the manager of graduate programs at Rutgers School of Criminal Justice, and I'm glad that everyone was able to join us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for being here. Dean Williams from Student Affairs. Would you like to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So my name is Erica Williams, and I am the student at Rutgers-Newark. And I do work in the Division of Student Affairs, which includes lots of different departments and services that exist outside of the classroom, and are really here to help support you during your time at Rutgers-Newark. And I'm happy to share more information and answer any questions from the panel.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean Williams. And thank you for joining us on your first day back. We really appreciate you diving right in with both feet in 2021. Thank you so much. So from our Office of International Student and Scholar Services, we have Ryan Farrell with us. Ryan, would you like to say hello? And if there's anything that you'd want some of the international students in the room to know right off the bat, please, feel free.
Yeah, thanks, Vincent. Again, good evening, morning, depending on where you are. My name is Ryan Farrell. I am in the Office of International Student and Scholar Services. I know that we do have some international students on the call today. We really appreciate you joining us for spring of 2021. We'll dive into a little bit of different things later with a couple different questions, but we really appreciate you making the effort to join Rutgers, especially in these unprecedented times. And all I can say is from our office and staff, we want to try and help you get on campus as soon as possible. So we'll kind of touch on that a little bit later, and just some things to look forward to fall of 2021 as well. So thanks, Vincent.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. Again, well said as usual. So from our Graduate School Newark, we have Dean Perry. Dean Perry, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Vincent.
Of course.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, welcome. We're so excited that you were able to join us today. It's a good time, regardless as what our current environment looks like. It's a good time to start graduate school. So we just want you to know from the Graduate School Newark that we are definitely happy that you're joining us, and that if you have any concerns, any questions, or you just need someone to just listen and help you figure out what your next steps might be as far as your academic career is concerned, we're more than happy to answer those questions for you or just be a kind ear. So we look forward to working with you over the next few years.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean Perry. That's so true, right? Sometimes we are just a sounding board, right? Just there to listen. And that's part of our job. Absolutely. From the School of Public Affairs and Administration, Dean Gibbs. Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing very, very well, Vincent. Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year to everyone. Great to see you, and thank you so much for joining us this evening for this town hall. Like all my colleagues have said, we're so excited that you have chosen to become part of this wonderful school community and family. And again, we're so glad to have you. Please feel free to, ask any questions. We're all here to help.
Absolutely. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Dean Gibbs. And last and certainly not least, our representative from the Office of Housing and Residence Life, Mr. LaFuente. Daniel, how's it going tonight?
Oh, doing just fine. Thank you very much. Hello and good evening, good morning, good day to everyone out there, and Happy New Year. My name is Daniel LaFuente. I'm the Assistant Dean Director of Residence Life here. We are one of the offices that is open 24/7, 365 days out of the year. We love for students to call this place their home. We truly believe in making this a home for everyone. Although we understand that during these difficult times, we're at about 25% occupancy. So due to social distancing, physical distancing, and safety, we're about 1/4 full in housing, but we understand that some people may call this place their home this year or even in the future. And so I'm here to answer any questions long run, because you may join us for summer, for fall, next spring. And so we're here to help answer anything, but hopefully you are excited about joining us here at Rutgers Newark, because we're definitely excited about you joining us. And if you want to call this place your home, we welcome you to campus and into housing and residence life.
Absolutely, right? This is not forever, right? At least that's what we hope. So, we'll be back to some sense of normalcy, hopefully sooner rather than later, but we'll make the best of it as we go on. So just some housekeeping issues before we jump into the panelist Q&A. Again, just like to remind you that we do have a Q&A box where you feel free to ask some of your questions. And, we have chatters who are available to answer those questions in real time. And if not, I will do my best to get to some of those questions at the end. We should have some time after our panelist Q&A to try to field some of those questions. So definitely, again, don't be shy. And of course, just for the respect of everyone else in the room, if you're not speaking, just please mute your microphone so that we can use our time wisely here and to the best of our ability. So with that said, I'm going to jump right into the first question. And with some of these questions, panelists, they might really speak to you. So you can feel free to jump in and answer any question that, that I pose. Some are really more specific to some and not others, but, we don't necessarily have to go in any particular order. But I'm going to jump right into this first question. And I think it's really one of the questions that's burning in a lot of our minds, really us and the students, right, is how will courses be offered for spring 2021? And more importantly, what can students expect enrolling as graduate students with Rutgers Newark in January?
So Vincent, if I can, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to take that, and then we can have schools narrow down.
Sure.
So for most folks who are on the call with us, Rutgers University-Newark will be mostly remote for spring 2021. We do have a number of courses that will be in person. If you are going to be taking an in-person class, it'll be a small number of students in a much larger classroom. The way you can find out how your class is running, you would go on the Rutgers schedule of classes. And on the schedule of classes, you would then click on graduate, Rutgers University-Newark, and then you would click spring 2021. When you click on your code, so for instance, if you're criminal justice, just because I used to work there, and that's curriculum code 212, you would click on criminal justice, and then you would click on the course number. When you open that course number, you will also see at the bottom of that course number what we call course notes. In the schedule of course notes, you will see if your class is running remotely, or if it's running in person, or if it's running hybrid. And so with those three definitions, clearly remotely would mean it's going to be a virtual course. And if we're doing a virtual course, that course would either be synchronous or asynchronous. If we're doing a synchronous virtual course, that means that we're all learning at the same time. It usually involves lectures. It's kind of doing those kind of items. If we're doing asynchronous, that means you have kind of individualized work that you can do at any time to be able to upload that by the deadlines when the coursework is there. The majority of some of the courses will be a combination of both synchronous and asynchronous if you're doing remotely based upon kind of the homework and the other items that are expected of you. If you're doing a hybrid class, that's a conversation between, I shouldn't say it's a conversation, that's a decision that's made between the department chair, the faculty that's teaching, and that will be designated on your syllabus as well as the course notes. Hybrid at Rutgers University means that you'll be taking the majority of course on virtually, but you may have some requested in-class time. Again, those are going to be small number of courses during this pandemic. And then there are a very small number of in-person classes. In-person classes may operate meeting every week, or they may meet every other week, or they may have a combination between hybrid and in-person. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the faculty member, in conjunction with the department chair, and usually after a first couple meetings with the students, may make some changes to how that in-person class may happen. In terms of how many times it will meet on a regular basis, but I just wanted to kind of give you kind of what we mean by that kind of information. If you are registered for an in-person course, you must take a COVID test and you must have the COVID results uploaded into our COVID testing database. Every student who is registered for an in-person course at this particular moment would have received or should receive an email as well as information through your course learning system. So Canvas would have sent you an email, Blackboard would have sent you an email, and it would have provided you all the details via a memo about what you need to do to provide your first COVID test results and how you upload those results into our database or I should say, not database, our portal, in terms of where you need to register. At that particular time, it also goes through and it talks about testing on a weekly basis in terms of what people in class need to do. There's complete details on that memo that goes out to those students, and there's complete details in terms of how you use the portal and how you take the test. Obviously, at Rutgers University-Newark, we are using the test that was designed by Rutgers University, which is a spit test. And so there's a routine and a schedule by which you need to honestly spit into a small tube, close that tube up, make sure you put your, because we're all assigned to various kind of barcode, put the barcode on, drop it off the requested port to be able to do that. We have a great testing center on campus up on the Paul Robeson Campus Center. And Paul Robeson Campus Center, in one of our largest rooms on campus, we have the ability to, as a student coming on campus, to set up your test, set up the interaction. All that is done through the portal. So it's a pretty robust kind of testing procedure and testing cadence for students who are going to be on campus attending classes. I can also tell you that students who are in housing will go through the exact same testing procedure I just went through. If you're like me, you can see Dan LaFuente shaking his head because housing team has gotten this down. And literally it's usually an every Monday or an every Thursday way that you have to test, put your items in. And The same thing in class. If you do not keep up with your routine of testing, our testing team on campus will track you down, find you, and that there are certain things that we have to adhere to. If you are also coming on campus, you must wear a mask. That's not negotiable. That is the way that we take care of each other on campus. It is the way that we hold our community dear. So we are a community on campus that looks out after each other, that looks after our community, our neighbor. And so the conversation around this is health and safety for everyone. So if you're going to be on campus and you're going to be on campus buildings, the mask is required. You are also required to have your university ID at all times with you if you are coming on campus. If you are a new student, you will receive this lovely lanyard that I'm wearing now, along with a way to carry your ID, because you will need to swipe into the buildings where you have classes to be able to do that. The only buildings that are open on campus for free access are the Robeson Campus Center, which is where dining occurs, which is where testing occurs. And that's open until 7 p.m. most evenings, or 9 p.m. until most evenings. That's also where our pantry is. And the other building that's open during regular hours is the Dana Library. But most buildings around campus are card swipe only. And then that conversation will be with you and your faculty member as you prepare to come on campus for your in-person class. I would say to every student who's doing in-person class, make sure that you are checking your learning management system. At Rutgers University-Newark, that would mean you're either checking Blackboard or Canvas, and then your syllabus for your faculty should be uploaded there to provide you more details. And inside your Blackboard and or Canvas shell will be the memo specifically as it relates to in-person testing and in-person class needs. So I wanted to go over that first, because I think those are all the really important information that folks need to be aware of. Erica, if I'm correct, Dean Williams, if I'm correct, every new student, if they are coming on campus, if they do not have a mask of their own, they can stop by the Paul Robeson Campus Center to pick up a really nice, excuse me, I'm going back to get it, a really lovely Rutgers University-Newark mask that folks can be able to wear. So you have your own branded mask to be able to wear across campus. You may even stop and pick up that mask when you're up there for your first COVID test to turn in, and or being able to drop off your test tube. So it's not one of those kind of items that you have to pick up right away, but it is available to you as a brand new student, along with your lanyard and ID as you get around campus.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Leipold. Really, really great information. I think it just proves the point that you mentioned in your introduction, that Rutgers-Newark has the health and safety of not only us, but the students really as its priority and at the forefront of everything that we do. Any representative from one of our academic schools, was there anything that you wanted to add in addition to what Dr. Leipold said? Maybe that was school specific, or you all feel comfortable that he covered everything?
You know, if I may just add one quick point, even though we're doing remote learning, we don't want you to be concerned about the quality of the education dropping. We're still going to give you our cutting edge research. Our faculty have been preparing to have you, and so they're going to make sure they meet you where you are, provide engaging opportunities for you to learn, and really get you to the point where you need to be. So, you know, even though we won't be physically in person, and whether you're taking asynchronous or synchronous courses, please expect that the workload will not diminish.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean Gibbs. It's an excellent, excellent point. Anyone else from the academic side or any of our other offices here want to make any other statements about what students can expect come spring 2021?
So Vincent, can I make a really, so as many of our new students may know, Rutgers University-Newark offered a pass no credit option at the end of fall for fall 2020. They have extended that pass no credit option for our winter courses, and winter courses ran from December 22nd through, I think, January 15th. A memo will be coming out early next week that we will be extending the pass no credit option for spring 2021. The provost and the president have met across the university. They listened to the feedback from our students in early November of 2020 and have decided, with student feedback, they are extending the pass no credit options for spring 2021. An email will be going out to all registered students on Tuesday, letting them know about their option. So that email should be coming to you if you're registered for courses on January 12th. All information related to spring pass no credit options will also be posted on myrun.newark.rutgers.edu. I will say that Myrun is the best way to keep updated for all COVID resources, all COVID updates, and all information related to student services Again, we are offering pass no credit options. And I would say, as we always say, speak with your academic advisor. Every school has a different every school has a different grading system as it relates to that. But pass no credit for Rutgers University, if you are a graduate student, means it is everything C and above. Anything below C, which would be C minus, D, or an F. If you again, business school has different requirements for that. Graduate school has different requirements for that. But C through A is traditionally a pass, and anything below is a no credit. You have until May 19th to choose that option, which means you would be able to see your spring grades and then choose that option after you have seen your spring grades, which is why we want you to talk to your academic advisor before you choose that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Leipold. We're going to come back to keeping up to date with some of that COVID information at the end there. So we're going to definitely touch on that again. So just going to move on. And I think that we've kind of talked, a little bit about this and definitely did a wonderful job of explaining the difference. But I think what I can do and what we can change it into is I'd like to hear from the schools to talk about, more or less whether their courses in their respective areas are more synchronous or asynchronous, and give students really the idea of, depending on what area they're going into, what their course load or schedule can look like. So anyone who would like to start and maybe discuss a little bit about the way that the courses are offered within your respective schools, if there is a pattern, then definitely feel free to share it with the students who are listening. Anyone in particular would like to begin? Maybe Dean Kwan, just because I have you on the top of my list here.
Sure, I'll start with that. Here at Rutgers Business School, majority of our courses will be synchronous, starting most likely 6 o'clock or 6:40 based on, the program. The reason so is because it is pretty much set. We only have a few programs that's totally online. That's our digital marketing, our supply chain management, professional accounting, governmental accounting. Those are the 4 online programs. And when we have online programs, then it could be a mixture of synchronous or asynchronous. But majority of the classes who are really in the classroom will be synchronous, and it usually starts at 6 o'clock.
Got it.
Back to with the international students in some of these programs, like the Master of Quantitative Finance or the Master of Financial Analysis, where they're accommodating international student because of the time zone, they might make a big change in terms of, okay, we're not starting at 8:30. We might start, I think there's one that start at 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So therefore, each one of our program, we have a program coordinator / academic advisor that you can go to that will have all the information for you in terms of how the course is set up. It could be a different time because of the time zone difference to accommodate international student, but work with the program coordinator regarding when the class will start, the start time.
Got it. Thank you, Dean Kwan. Excellent information. Really appreciate that from the RBS side, business school. Anyone from our School of Public Affairs Administration or GSN, Graduate School of Newark, rather, want to see anything about courses? Sure.
Sure, I'll go. So for those of you who are in our Master's in Public Administration program, we have 2 different modalities. We have our traditional on-campus program, and those courses are going to meet synchronously. We have our online program, which those courses will meet 100% asynchronously. Within the schedule of classes, like Chancellor Leipold had mentioned, it will indicate the style of the course. So if you do have any questions about that, you definitely can reach out to our advising team, and we'll be able to assist you with letting you know the format of the class.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean Gibbs. Appreciate it. Dean Perry or Mr. Camacho, anything from Graduate School of Newark or the School of Criminal Justice?
Sure. So for the School of Criminal Justice, we have a mixture of both courses that are synchronous and asynchronous. And that also is to accommodate some of our full-time students that work. So those students would prefer to take some of the asynchronous courses because the synchronous courses do meet during the day. But we did make sure that we offer a mixture to both accommodate both populations of students. Again, those that work during the day and those that prefer to have, courses in the evening.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate Mr. Camacho. Dean Perry, anything from you?
Yes. So our courses meet at their various modalities. So you just have to be very careful and to make sure that you check the online schedule of courses to identify how the course meets. Some of the courses are hybrid, and usually those really are courses that are more research-based or independent study. So students have the opportunity to maybe meet with the faculty member on campus, maybe once or twice during the semester, or they can meet via WebEx or Zoom or whatever they prefer. Works for both the faculty member and the student. So you really have to check with either the faculty member who's teaching the course, or checking off with the online scheduled classes to make sure that how the course actually meets, if it's asynchronous, synchronous, or hybrid.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dean Perry. Yeah, so I think it's pretty evident and obvious that Rutgers-Newark, really do go above and beyond to try to make sure that the education is attainable for all, especially in this unprecedented time, as students are definitely really at the forefront of every decision that we make here, making sure that you all have access to it, making sure that there's no issues with technology or anything like that. So we're going to roll through right to our next question. And I think we could start with anyone here, but what do those students need to know, those that are taking courses remotely and might be outside of the U.S.? And we touched upon it a little bit. I think Dean Kwan mentioned something about students that were taking courses who might be in different time zones. But if anyone cared to elaborate about, what students who are taking classes outside of the U.S., when those schedules are built on, let's say, Eastern Standard Time zones, what that looks like for someone in a synchronous course.
I'll jump in.
Sure.
So one of the things that we need students to realize is that our faculty are not totally unflexible. If you're taking a synchronous course and you're having a very difficult time adjusting, it may take some time for you to realize, if you're somewhere and our course is meeting at 6 o'clock in the evening and it's midnight or really early in the morning where you are, it may take you some time to get acclimated. I would reach out, if I were you, please reach out to the faculty member and let them know, hey, it's taking me a little time to get acclimated to this. Please bear with me, so that they'll know you're just not trying to blow off the class
right.
and not attend. You really need to just get acclimated to this, and working at times where normally you would be sleeping can be quite a challenge, and we do understand that. But we need you to reach out to the faculty member. You need to communicate with them, and that's
Absolutely.
something that we really need you to understand and know, that we're not going to penalize you because you're trying to adjust, but you need to let them know.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely have to be an advocate for yourself. As graduate students, there's going to be a lot asked of you and expected of you. And the professors, they just want to know that you're here, right? That you're making that effort, and they don't know what they don't know. So make that relationship. One of the best things about Rutgers University-Newark is the access to make that personalized relationship with your professors, with the staff, with the deans and chancellors that you have here in the room with you today. You're already making that relationship and networking just by being here. So kudos to you for that, but definitely don't let it stop here, and continue that with your faculty members. Is there anything else that anyone would like to add on this particular topic?
You know what? I think I can step back and I can wait, so it's not a problem.
Not at all. Go ahead, Dean Gibbs.
Okay, so I do want to just reiterate what Dean Kwan was saying. Be very mindful of the time zone. If you are off of, if you're not Eastern Standard Time, just be mindful of that. And again, like Dean Perry was saying, let your instructors know, so that we can be flexible with you. The tough part is this much: if you're seeing, or better yet, right now, especially if you're trying to do a synchronous class, but you're seeing that time zone might be an issue, now is the perfect time to work with your advisor to try to see if you can switch into an asynchronous section, if that is possible, so that we can basically adjust to where you are as well. So, definitely don't be bashful in asking for help and trying to figure out what's the best learning style for you right now.
Absolutely. I think we've all learned that if nothing else during this pandemic, we all need to be a little bit flexible, right? So that's definitely something that we strive to be, and our faculty member definitely have that flexibility in there as well. So I think we're going to, unless there's something else that someone, yeah, go ahead, Bill. Go ahead, Dr. Leipold.
I jump in because there's a couple questions coming up about when do I register for courses.
Of course.
I'm a graduate student, I've been accepted, I'm waiting to register for courses. When does that occur? So at this particular point, the registration will occur when your associate dean or your program director reaches out to you. So if you're in the School of Criminal Justice, Our great colleague, Jimmy Camacho, will be reaching out to you via email to set up a time for you to have a conversation about how to register. If you're in School of Public Administration and Affairs, that information will be coming actually directly from Dean Gibbs and or the program directors there. And if you're in a Graduate School of Newark, the program directors will be reaching out to you directly, along with their administrative assistants for that department. And the same thing would be in the business school. So at this particular point, most of us are probably having a conversation with you before you are registered for courses, and know that registration for courses will happen with most folks on this line over the next few days. When I say few days, I mean like Friday, not Saturday. So it would be when we are open for business. So most students will need to register for courses by the end of the ad drop period, which would be up until January 27th, excuse me. Most of us want to have you register for courses by the first day of class, which for us would be January 19th. You do not need to wait for financial aid to register for courses. Some of your FAFSAs were submitted a little later in terms of information, so it may take us a little longer to package you, so you can register for courses before financial aid occurs. If you are looking for your program's requirements, you can either look on the websites that are related to your programs. You can look into your academic catalogs, which you can Google right into Rutgers, right into Google, or go to the Rutgers homepage and find it there. Or you can just go directly to somebody like Jimmy Camacho, who has all that information. He can give you all the links for the School of Criminal Justice. So I saw some questions that were coming through in terms of, you're talking about requirements, you're talking about courses. I'm not even registered yet. What's going on? So I wanted to make sure we could answer that question.
Excellent question. Yeah, excellent. And thank you, Bill. I appreciate it, Dr. Leopold. Yeah, so we might have maybe get a little ahead of ourselves for some students, but definitely something that we want to make sure that we touch on, as I see some questions coming in about it. So we're going to move right along to our next question. And I think it's a very important one. And in terms of preparation, and we're talking about preparing for registering for courses, preparing for spring semester, what that's going to look like. I'm interested to hear from our panelists, what can students do really to prepare for remote learning? Maybe those that are not familiar with it, although it has been kind of a normal thing over the past 2 semesters in most places. But what are some tips to help students with online learning? What does online learning really look like? What can they expect? How, and more importantly, how can they prepare? How can they best make sure that they get off at the right foot as graduate students at Rutgers-Newark?
If I'm going to jump, I'll jump in and just give you a few updates, and then I'm sure academic programs will have their own kind of takes on this. First one is to make sure you have the appropriate learning tools. And in this space, we're going to ask you to have a laptop or a desktop. The information about what you might need to support your learning management system, be able to, say, run SPSS if you need to for your research program, depending on your program. You can find all that information on MyRun, or you can find that information at the COVID-19 information website in terms of what you might need for a laptop or a computer. We would also say it's about setting up a routine schedule. It kind of seems strange that in this time we often don't know what day it is, let alone what time of the day it might be. So it would be one of those kind of things that we're going to encourage you, if you're doing synchronous learning, that you set up your time when your class meets in terms of being able to be engaged with your instructor as well as being engaged with your class. While you may not need your camera on for every single course, we would encourage you to turn your camera on so you can get to learn get to see other folks, learn from other folks. And there are times and moments where you could engage your Zoom background or your WebEx background to be able to hide your background if you need to be able to do that. You can see that with Jimmy Camacho, you can see that with Vincent, you can see that with myself, so that you don't need to look out my window to Newark. But the bottom line here is those are some, I know it sounds simple, but there's some really basic kind of things about getting prepared. I would also say, as a graduate student, the responsibility of a graduate student is to read, is to become an expert in your area. So beyond making time for class, you really need to be making time for reading. And this might reading online, reading journal articles, reading textbooks, reading. I keep on saying reading. Many of us on this film strip that you have seen have not only gone through master's programs, many of our fellow colleagues are in the process of going through their doctoral programs, and many of us on this have gone through the doctoral programs. So we've had to find on non-COVID times that quiet space to kind of go into a corner and find that place that makes it work for school. Dr. Gibbs, Dean Gibbs, I see you laughing. So anyways, it's one of those kind of moments where beyond setting up your time for your schoolwork, meaning your time in class, it's also setting up a time for you to read that you know you will do well with. And I think by the point that you're a graduate student, most of you know whether you're a night owl or a morning person. And so I would say take advantage of what you know to be able to make the most of that kind of reading time for yourself in that space.
Absolutely. Excellent points. Anyone else like to add anything?
If I may, a couple things. One, be mindful if your instructor is using WebEx or Zoom, because and you want to make sure that you're very detailed in this. Some instructors may prefer Zoom, some may prefer WebEx if they're doing whether it be office hours or if they're doing for your synchronous courses, because it's very easy to kind of get mixed up. I think by now everyone is comfortable probably using Zoom or you might even be comfortable using WebEx as well, but just as a heads up for that as well.
Absolutely. Comfortability is important. Definitely. Then Gibbs, thank you.
I'd just like to add to just make sure that you're in a safe place where you can access the internet. And this goes for everything. I mean, even when you're booking an appointment with an advisor, it's important that, you're in a location where you have access to the internet and you can, correspond. So that's very important. I mean, don't be in the car trying to access a class. Like, make sure you're in a location where you have access to a laptop and you have internet.
Absolutely, yeah.
I do have a comment on that. I think the best thing is also to check your computer first. Like myself, when COVID-19 first started in March, I had an old computer, and every time I hop on into these town hall, I cannot turn on my camera because the bandwidth or whatever, it was not the home internet, it was the computer. So definitely check your computer. So what I have to do is that I have to switch computer away. And so now I'm able to, when I join these town hall, that I have my video on and won't interrupt and so forth. So check your computer. That is very crucial when you're, especially maybe you're doing examination or and the next thing you know it's not working. So definitely just double check your computer.
Absolutely. Good points. Dean, did you want to add anything?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Vincent.
Of course.
So I think it's important that as graduate students, like you mentioned, it's important to read. Thank you for saying that, Dr. Leipold. But what you're reading also would include things like your program student handbook. And for students in the graduate school, it's also your Graduate School-Newark student handbook. These are important because it contains important policies, simple things that a lot of students often take for granted, like, oh, I want to transfer in a course from another university. And you can do that for most programs as a graduate student. But if the course is more than 6 years old, we won't take it.
Point.
Or you want to repeat a course. Some programs allow you to do that, where others don't. So please make sure that you familiarize yourself with the handbooks or the course catalog. I'm sorry, the graduate school catalog and the catalogs the other programs have, because the policies in those particular materials are critical to your success as a student. So it's important that you're familiar with those policies. You don't have to know them by heart, but you should familiarize yourself with them.
Absolutely. Definitely, Dean Perry. Thank you. If you want to educate yourself on those policies, it can go a long way, right? The more you know, the questions to ask, what not to ask, and you can spend time on focusing on other things. And something that I've always lived by, be early, right? Just because the class starts at 6 o'clock at night, don't sign in on 5:59, because if you have any issues, let's just eliminate some of the stress in our life, right? There's enough of it out there. Let's just be early, right? I'd say to be on time is probably to be late in this world. So I love to be early. I was logged in here at 6:30, just kind of sitting around, knowing that everything was okay. My boss was going to be here. Everything looks good. It's great. Just be early. It makes life so much easier. I promise you that. I promise you. And you can accommodate any issues that come along the way.
For students, Vincent, I want to jump in. For students who are in the U.S., if you are physically situated in the U.S. with a mailing address in the U.S., you can actually reach out to our OIT Launchpad. So we started a program where students who are in the U.S. taking courses can request I use a laptop for the time that they are enrolled. And so I'm going to ask one of the chatters to post the Launchpad. The Launchpad also has collaboration tools, also has updates for Wi-Fi items. Unfortunately, due to import and export issues, we can't ship laptops abroad. So my sincere apologies to folks who are abroad. It's not that we don't love you, it's just that we're limited by government agencies in terms of that information. And the reason we're saying your laptop, as Dean Kwan said, was also you're probably, along with your faculty members, going to be asked to purchase textbooks and or go into Dana Library. So most of your readings may be journal entries, maybe journal articles, maybe items from the website that you can access through the Dana Library link, which your faculty members should have up on your course management system. If they should ask you to buy a textbook, clearly we have our own library. I mean, we have our own textbook store, which is Barnes & Noble, but you can also figure out if you can purchase that same textbook via other methods. It might be Amazon, it might be exchanges. So folks who are overseas, you may find that you have better ability to buy a textbook for the course via Amazon or other avenues. So I would say make sure you are looking at your syllabus again before the class starts. Look to see if you absolutely need a textbook, and then go through the abilities to purchase that textbook as you might need. Some textbooks, if you are maybe on reserve in the library, in other words, there might be a textbook that you can access digitally. So a number of textbook vendors have moved to digital books and digital access to textbooks during the pandemic. They started that access well before the pandemic, but it's really kind of moved before that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. White. Appreciate it. So I think we got some great information on that particular question. We're going to roll on to our next question in our list here. And one of my favorite questions, and a question that always kind of comes up, especially now, and how can students, get involved in campus activities, even those that are studying and learning remotely?
I would love to jump in there if you don't mind.
Not at all.
So one of the things I think is really important is that I know that we're all in this place where we're learning remotely, but we don't want that to be we don't want that to result in a loss of social connections, because we do recognize that building relationships and having those connections are a part of your overall experience. And so something that I feel like has been done really well at Rutgers-Newark is that we have continued to have different opportunities for programs and events and really allowing students to get connected and involved remotely. So just this year alone, we had dozens of programs each semester. Use your imagination, or I can help you, right? Thinking about, we do virtual yoga classes. We've done virtual cooking classes, painting classes. We've done online discussions. So thinking about meeting people from different cultures and backgrounds and getting to connect with them. So we've tried to think really creatively. And honestly, I think students have been really receptive to it and really getting involved. And again, meeting new people and building those important connections. I would also add that we have many student organizations. So one thing that Rutgers-Newark has is 100+ student groups, and it ranges in the types, everything from pre-professional, faith-based, cultural organizations, community service-based, student government, and those are all open to our undergraduate and graduate students. And so one of the things that I would definitely encourage is to find an organization or a group that you're interested in, get connected with them. They're all still meeting and having events throughout the semester, remotely, virtually. And if you don't see a group that you are interested in, you can always start one. So we're here to kind of work with you because we really want to have a vibrant and engaged community. And part of that is having students that are interested invest in creating these spaces for other students. So if there is something that you're looking to do, I'm happy to help guide you through that. We can connect and again, make sure that you feel like you're being included, because Rutgers-Newark is a very, I would say, a community-oriented institution. I feel like, being around students and even connecting virtually, it makes you feel like you have personal relationships. And so we want to be able to continue to cultivate that.
Absolutely. Definitely ways to still stay engaged on campus, guys. Yep. Thank you, Dean Williams. I really appreciate that answer.
No problem.
Of course. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Dr. Leipold, I had mentioned before that we were going to come back and touch on this a little bit. You had mentioned my run and some specific pages around information for COVID. So I would like to maybe touch on that just a little bit more, really try to drive that home to the students. So I think it's definitely one of the most important resources that we have. And I'd like maybe some of the schools to talk about maybe how can they in their individual respective areas, how they can keep up to date they being the students. So what is the best way for students to keep up to date on information for spring 2021? And in that matter, beyond that as well, whether it be COVID-19 specific or just, on courses and everything like that. So Dr. Leipold, do you want to just talk a little bit about My Run again?
Sure. I want to talk a little bit about My Run, but I want to talk about how we collaborate across our areas. So for instance, My Run right now is a repository for all things COVID resources. So there'll be information on My Run about past no credit. There's information on how do I talk to my landlord around information about not being able to pay my rent. How do I deal with utility issues? A lot of those items are New Jersey based, but there are some federal programs that are also there in terms of that information. We work very closely with every single person on in this space about how we can keep that updated in terms of that information. There's also information on there about building operations, what's open, what's not open. It tells you what time Starbucks is open. I find that really important. It tells you where folks are located and how offices are operating. So I will say most campus offices are operating remotely. There are some campus offices that have limited in-person operations. They tend to be more of Dean Williams's offices and my offices. In terms of that information, I will say most folks across campus are operating remotely. So it's about how can you get in touch with them? Am I emailing them? Are you suggesting that I call them? So My Run has that information. But beyond that, we also collaborate across the university. So if we know the business school is doing a huge open house at some point, we'll be able to post information on there. But every school has their own website along with their own update and information. To be able to ask and kind of get integrated with. The My Run team, which is our one-stop team, you can never go wrong with reaching out to us because if it's a question specifically about Graduate School Newark, it's a question specifically about student life and leadership, we will connect you with those folks. So I will say to you, everybody on this panel keeps in touch and refers students to the appropriate people to get things done. The last thing we want for any student is to have them kind of hanging out there without information or answers. And so to be able to work together is one of the things that I really love about working at Rutgers University-Newark. And that happens all the time. So it's myrun.newark.rutgers.edu. At this particular point, I don't know if any of the chatters can just post that, but that's one of the places. But then, like I said, every single one of the schools has their own website, which is critical important to their operating procedures, their policies, their processes, and their folks in that space.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Leipold. Would any one of the other representatives or other panelists like to talk about maybe some resources in their respective areas?
I mean, I'll kind of jump in real quick, Vincent.
Sure.
This is Ryan from OISS again, and I know that we do have international students on with us tonight. My advice for spring 2021 is to check your email. Our office will email you if there are any updates from the Department of Homeland Security, if there are any updates from Immigration Customs Enforcement. One of the main questions that I have been getting recently was, how do I get a visa for fall 2021? Start looking at the U.S. embassies now. I know in some countries, April, May, earliest appointments that are available right now. Please check your email, because if we have any type of communication from any type of U.S. federal agency, we're going to relay that information. It is not information that comes out very often, but when it does, we want to make sure that you have it. Our website and email is I would say the best way to get this information and to communicate with us. The other thing is for the students that did arrive in the United States who are with us, are here with us tonight. Again, email is the best way to communicate with us. There's certain immigration guidelines we have to go through with you. Not all students are exactly the same. So if you have a friend that's in a similar situation, just be advised that you might have a little bit of a different process that has to be completed in order to go ahead and legally keep you here in the United States. So I would say just check your email, constantly check our website. And again, that's primarily for immigration regulations, and start looking at the U.S. embassies now for visas for fall of 2021.
Excellent. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Definitely something we were going to touch on. So that's a perfect point for you to jump in there. Important information. Any other office want to talk a little bit about maybe a resource that they want to plug to their students listening today?
Sure, if I can jump in, we actually have a school-wide listserv that we use to communicate any announcements, anything pertinent. So like Ryan was saying, yes, you are going to have to check your email. Just as an FYI, students, you will get a lot of emails. So it's very, very important that you take some time, read it through. There'll be some very, very timely and important announcements that you'll need to attend to. So please, definitely make sure that you take the time to go through the emails, but we will make sure to communicate out any and all important information through our listserv as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean Gibbs. Appreciate it. Any other last words on this?
So I would encourage people in their emails. So faculty send a lot of information and updates through their learning management system. So a lot of faculty will log into Canvas or Blackboard, and they will actually send you a message. That message is usually attached to your Scarlet mail address. So one of the things you want to do, if you haven't done yet, is once you are registered for courses or you have your net ID, you want to make sure that you activate your Scarlet Mail, which is a Gmail account, and then forward the appropriate Scarlet Mail to where you are going or vice versa, because most of the emails are automatically generated as the Scarlet Mail address unless you have put in an alias. The OIT website tells you how to do all those kind of items, but that's going to be a really important thing. Sometimes our graduate students only check their own personal emails and they forget to check their Scarlet Mail addresses. But when you sign off on your term bill, you have said to the university that all communication will be done through the email in the database, which is your Scarlet Mail address.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Leipold. Appreciate it. So we have about 8 or 9 minutes left together. So I'm going to get into our last question. And then, of course, would like to open it up to any last minute thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns from either our students or the chatters who are sending me questions from our students that have joined us today, or just some last minute thoughts from our panelists. So we're going to get into that last question. And Ryan made a really excellent point about thinking ahead to fall, and it's a perfect segue into this question. And of course, not that we don't want everyone in this room to register for spring, but we want you to have the information available to make sure that you're making the best decision possible for you. So any one of our panelists, definitely feel free to kind of jump in here and talk a little bit about the process of maybe deferring enrollment for a particular program from spring to fall 2021, let's say, and what effect, if any, that will have on the student's ability to keep up with the curriculum and their time to completion.
I'll jump in first.
Sure.
So if you have decided that you're wanting to defer, we need you to have a conversation with your graduate program director first. So don't reach out directly to admissions, because they're going to probably say, well, you need to talk to your graduate program director.
Right.
So we need you to talk to your graduate program director first. It won't impact your ability to join us in the fall if that's what you're choosing to do. We also need you to know that we want you to talk to the graduate program director first, because it can impact when you actually are able to complete your program. Because with some programs, your courses are very prescriptive. And if you miss one, you miss it in the spring, you're not going to get it again until next spring.
Yep, important.
So it's important that you have that conversation with them first, so that they can explain all of that to you, and you have the opportunity to then make an informed decision and be able to either defer, knowing that you may miss a course because it's not going to be offered again until the spring and it can impact other things, or you can move forward with your deferment and knowing that there are no problems with courses and curriculum, and I'll still be able to finish in a timely fashion.
Absolutely. And you want to make sure you have that information up front, because as you heard Dean Perry mention, that it could have a long lasting impact on courses that you might be able to take next semester or the following semester, and really have an impact on your anticipated graduation date. So excellent information, Dean Perry. Thank you so much for sharing. Would anyone else, any one of our other academic or office members like to join in? Maybe just...
Sure, I'll jump in.
Sure, Dean, go ahead.
Business school students, except for the EMBA program and the PhD program or the doctoral business administration program, all defer admission or requesting defer comes to my office. So I'm sure a lot of have reached out to me already. Looking through our database in terms of all our students for all the programs, we're pretty much set already. But there might be one or two who say, you know what, last minute, I changed my mind. Not a problem. Just reach out to me. We'll be happy to defer your acceptance to either, the the summer or the fall term, or maybe even next year, because you are able to. Most programs will allow you to defer up to 1 year. So definitely, reach out to me, Ron Kwan.
I like that little plug right there. The Dean Kwan, reach out to me. Perfect. Yeah, good to have that connection with someone who can definitely assist you with that process. And you can see how it's different for different programs, right? So it's important, as Dean Kwan mentioned, everyone else, that you generate those relationships with your program directors, because you might hear from someone else that they went through a process. It might not be the same process that you need to go through for your respective program. So make sure that you ask the question of your program director, or in this case, the dean or assistant dean who is in the know. Dean Gibbs, Mr. Camacho, and even Daniel from our Office of Housing and Residence Life, what does deferment look like for your respective areas?
Sure. So deferring for us is very similar to what Dean Perry was stating. Definitely want you to reach out to us so that we can kind of figure out and make sure that your deferment is not going to impact anything going forward. But it is very, very simple. So definitely reach out to us. If in the event this semester is not the right fit for you, we completely understand. And we'll do all that we can to make sure that you can still start at a later time and still be a part of our student community.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean Gibbs. Thank you. Appreciate it.
For Housing and Residence Life, I can definitely share that typically we do academic year or actual calendar year contracts for our graduate students. And so typically if you're coming in, usually you would start with a late summer contract, but we do spring contracts too. But if you're looking to defer and you've already applied to housing, just reach out to us and let us know that you're no longer looking to be here for the spring semester. We'll work with you to get that contract canceled, and then work with you on reapplying for later dates whenever you are coming to campus. And so, like I said earlier, whether you're here now or later, we want to welcome you to campus if you want to consider this part of your home. And so we'll work with you on any type of deferment. It's just reaching out and communicating with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Mr. Camacho, Jimmy, is there anything that you wanted to add from the School of Criminal Justice side?
So same thing like a lot of my colleagues said, if any student needs to defer, it's important that you contact me or one of the program directors so that we can just advise you on how it would affect you. Because some classes, again, like Dean Perry mentioned, are only offered at certain terms. So we want to make sure that we have that conversation. But like most programs, we can defer your enrollment, a semester or a year in advance.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. And thank you everyone to the panelists. This was our last official question now. I'd like to thank first, the chatters that we have in the room. I've been following the Q&A, and you all have been doing a fantastic job of receiving the students' questions as they come in. So I don't see that there was anything really that was unanswered. But at this particular point, I'd like to first and foremost just provide you with some information. If you are on a laptop or desktop and haven't joined us just on a mobile device, maybe on the phone, you can see that we have some emails here specific to the offices that are represented. Definitely want to take some of these down. In my experience, I think most students have just taken a picture of the screen instead of writing each individual email down. But if you want to narrow in on one office, definitely feel free just to make note of some of the email addresses that we have here, albeit either specific to an individual or general to a specific area. And at this point, before we leave each other, we have a few minutes left. I wanted to just allow our panelists who have taken time out of their extremely busy days and evenings now to say a last few words if they have anything that they wanted to leave you all with, any pearls of wisdom, as I know they carry with each other. So anyone, please, open forum, anything that you want to add to the students who are hopefully joining us in a few weeks?
Well, so first of all, I want to say thank you, Vincent. It's not taking time out of our schedule. Students are our life. And so we are here tonight because of our students. And we are excited to work with you. We are excited to see you even virtually this year. So, and as Vincent said, we're hoping that as we make our way through the pandemic with new vaccines, we'll hopefully be able to see more folks on campus next semester. Please be assured that the folks who are on this call are here to help you. We're here to answer your questions. We understand that being new to an institution can be a little confusing, if not overwhelming, especially when we say read and you're like, but there are a bazillion websites. Where do I start? I would say the best people you start with are the folks who are on this message to be able to get to where you need to be. I also would say to you again, keep up with my run, read your emails. And I would say at this particular point, as you go through, it's probably in the next week wise for you to log on wise for you to register for classes and work with the folks who are on here to do that. Log on to your course management system before the first day of class. Be able to download your syllabus. Be able to review your syllabus to see if you need a textbook or you need to do reading before the first day, and be able to set up the place in your home, your house, your apartment, or somewhere that will be great for you to attend class virtually, but also that quiet place where you can read and keep your notes together for this year. We will say this, I want to reiterate that the quality of education does not diminish because we are remotely. What I will say is that our faculty are here to support you, to challenge you, but to work with you. So take those things, and I would say while you're a graduate student, please advocate for yourself and continue to reach out to your faculty members during class so they get to know you and you get to know them as you go through the semester.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean, Dr. Leipold. Really appreciate those last words. Anyone else want to just add anything before we break here?
I'll jump in quickly. One thing I will say, as a former master's student and as a current doctoral student, you're going to have some moments where graduate school is going to be overwhelming. It's a wonderful experience, but please know there will be some rough days. What I would tell you is to take a deep breath, take it one class at a time, and not class as in I'm registered for this course, but I'm talking literally one day at a time. Set yourself up, get a good schedule for when you're going to read for your assignments. And again, just walk. All of the folks on campus in your respective schools, especially if you're in the School of Public Affairs and Administration, we're here to support you. We know what you're going to go through, I would say, but just take it step by step, breathe, enjoy the process, connect with your peers, especially within your class, set up some study groups or even some just informal times to chat with your classmates, just to lament about the classes. But understand we are so happy for you. We're excited to see you walk across the graduation stage. Hopefully we'll be able to do that in the coming future. And again, we're glad to really have you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean Gibbs. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you to the students, to our panelists. Again, thank you. Can't thank you enough. Thank you to our chatters for fielding some of those questions coming in through the Q&A over the past hour. And again, just want to leave you with one final thought. Congratulations on your admission. We hope to quote unquote see you in January in a few weeks. And also, just congratulations on your resiliency, right? Persisting to your education through these times. We thank you for that. We're here for you. Good evening, good morning. Thank you again for joining us. And I'll leave you with that. Thank you again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day. Thank you.
Thank you.